Black woman loses her job after saving the life of an injured millionaire. The next day, 2 helicopters went to her house. Can you believe the turn this story takes? You're fired, Dr. Diana, and please leave your coat and badge on the table now. Director Whitman's shout echoed through the crowded lobby of Santa Clara Hospital, causing dozens of patients and staff to turn their heads to witness the humiliation. Diana Santos, 38, never imagined that her decade of impeccable service as head nurse would end like this, being escorted by security like a criminal in front of everyone. Her dark eyes remained disturbingly calm as the director continued his public show of power. Serious violation of hospital protocol. Unauthorized treatment. Use of medical resources without prior payment. Whitman practically spat the words, his face red with theatrical anger. People like you need to learn their place in this institution. People like you. Diana knew the venom behind those words well. In her 10 years there, she had heard the whispers in the hallways, seen the dirty looks, felt the weight of denied promotions. Director Whitman, Diana replied firmly, removing her immaculate white coat. I saved a man's life last night. A man who arrived here bleeding, semi-conscious, with no identification, no medical insurance. Whitman interrupted, slamming his fat hand on the reception desk. No credit card, no health insurance, and you wasted valuable hospital resources on some indigent. The flashback came quick and vivid. 11 p.m. The night before, Diana was finishing her shift when the automatic doors opened. A man staggered in, his clothes torn and bloody, his face covered in mud and blood. He collapsed on the floor before anyone could react. Please help were his only words before he lost consciousness. The night receptionist, Patricia, a blonde with long nails, more interested in her cell phone than in the patients, didn't even get up. No insurance, no treatment. Those are the rules. Diana didn't hesitate. While everyone watched in shock, she ran to the fallen man. Weak pulse, irregular breathing, possible head trauma. Years of experience screamed that every second counted. Call Dr. Martinez. Prepare emergency room 3. Diana ordered, already starting first aid. But Dr. Diana, the rules, Patricia began to protest. To hell with the rules. This man is dying. Now back in the present, Diana handed her badge to the desk. Security guard Johnson, a black man who always greeted her with respect, looked away in embarrassment as he escorted her out. You'll regret this, Whitman, Diana said calmly. One day you'll understand that I saved more than a life yesterday. The director laughed, a loud, unpleasant sound. The only thing you saved was some homeless bum. Now get out of here before I call the police. As Diana walked through the revolving doors for the last time, she noticed something peculiar. The homeless man who always stood on the corner of the hospital, the one all the employees had known for years, was not in his usual spot. Even stranger, there was a man in an expensive suit standing exactly where the homeless man used to stand, talking quietly on a high-end cell phone. What secret is about to unfold, and how will it change Diana's fate? Stay tuned to Black Voices to find out. What no one in that hospital could have imagined was that the homeless man Diana had saved was wearing a $300,000 Patek Philippe watch on his wrist, hidden under the mud and blood, and that at that very moment, while Diana was being publicly humiliated, an unprecedented mobilization was already underway. If this story of injustice and prejudice has moved you, subscribe to the channel to find out how a single night of compassion was about to completely turn the tables on the power structure at that elite hospital. The morning sun burned mercilessly when Diana arrived home, still processing the violence of the humiliation she had just suffered. The humble riverside neighborhood contrasted brutally with the upscale area where Santa Clara Hospital was located. But it was there, sitting in her modest kitchen, that Diana made a decision that would change the course of this story. 3 missed calls from an unknown number flashed on her cell phone. When she finally answered the fourth, a professional and urgent voice surprised her. Dr. Diana Santos. This is Thomas Reynolds, corporate lawyer for Reynolds and Associates. We need to talk urgently about the patient you treated last night. Corporate lawyer. Diana felt a chill run down her spine. If this is about a lawsuit, I was just doing my job. On the contrary, Dr. Santos, the man you saved, well, let's just say that your actions have consequences that go far beyond what you can imagine. Can we meet in an hour? The downtown coffee shop was bustling with hurried executives when Diana entered, still wearing her hospital uniform, now without her lab coat. Reynolds, an impeccably dressed black man, waved discreetly from a table in the back. The man you saved, he began, pushing a tablet toward her, is Vincent Montenegro, CEO of Montenegro Holdings, one of America's largest healthcare corporations. Diana nearly dropped her coffee. On the screen, a professional photo showed the same face she had cleaned of blood and mud the night before, but he was dressed like a beggar. Yes, Vincent has this peculiar habit of hiking alone without security to clear his mind. Yesterday he suffered a serious accident in the mountains. He tried to get to the nearest hospital, yours. Meanwhile, at Santa Clara Hospital, Whitman savored his moment of power. He called an emergency meeting with the entire staff. This is an example of what happens when employees forget their place. Diana Santos has been fired for violating our policies. I hope everyone understands the message. Patricia, the receptionist, applauded discreetly. Dr. Martinez, the only Latino on the medical staff, remained silent, his fists clenched under the table. What Whitman didn't know was that at that very moment, security cameras were being requested. Internal emails were being accessed. A silent but devastating investigation was beginning to take shape. Dr. Santos, Reynolds continued, Montenegro is furious. Not with you, with the hospital. He told me everything. How he was treated, how you risked your career to save him, and how Whitman humiliated you publicly today. Diana felt tears sting her eyes. I only did what was right. And that's exactly why he wants to help you, but we need to act strategically. Whitman is known for his political connections. We can't just sue him. Over the next few days, while Diana dealt with overdue bills and the uncertainty of unemployment, a meticulous operation unfolded behind the scenes. Montenegro, still recovering in a luxury hospital suite, personally coordinated every move. I want to know everything about Whitman, he ordered his team. Every patient turned away, every case of discrimination, every penny embezzled. And I want proof. The investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. Over the past 5 years, 89% of Black and Latino patients without premium insurance have been turned away at Santa Clara. Curiously, substantial donations were made to the political campaign of the mayor, Whitman's cousin, shortly after each budget reorganization. Meanwhile, Diana received cruel messages from former colleagues. Patricia posted on Facebook, "Some people need to learn that rules are there for a reason." #Justice served. The post had 47 likes, most from the hospital administration, but there was dissent. Security guard Johnson sent a private message. "Dr. Diana, I have something you need to see. Camera recordings." Whitman doesn't know the system records audio as well. On the recording, Whitman's voice was clear. "That arrogant black woman needs to learn her place. I've been looking for a reason to get rid of her for a long time. She saved a beggar." Perfect. The net was closing in, but Whitman remained confident. At a charity dinner, he toasted investors, "Santa Clara has never been better. We've eliminated the problem elements. Our profit margin is up 15% this month." What those powerful men didn't realize was that the waiter serving champagne was wearing a small camera in his lapel, and that every word of his toast was being broadcast live to a team of lawyers 3 blocks away. What seemed like a humiliating defeat was about to become the greatest lesson that Santa Clara Hospital and the entire elitist healthcare system he represented would ever learn. Because when you underestimate people like Diana Santos, when you think money and connections are more powerful than justice and compassion, the universe has very creative ways of collecting that debt. Thomas Whitman's downfall began ironically at his own gala. The ballroom of the Metropolitan Hotel sparkled with crystal and champagne, celebrating the Director of the Year for the 4th consecutive year. Whitman circulated among sponsors and politicians, toasting the success of Santa Clara Hospital. "Ladies and gentlemen," he raised his glass. "Santa Clara Hospital has posted record profits this quarter. We have proven that quality medicine and profitability can go hand in hand." It was at that moment that the giant screens in the hall, programmed to show an institutional video, were hacked. The image of Whitman smiling gave way to recordings from the hospital security cameras. "That arrogant black woman needs to learn her place. I've been looking for a reason to get rid of her for a long time." The hall fell silent. Whitman stared at the screens, his face turning red and then white in seconds. "We rejected 312 Black and Latino patients this month. Excellent work, Patricia. Every penny saved is a bonus for us." The video cut to falsified medical records, spreadsheets showing systematic embezzlement, compromising emails. But the final blow was the voice of a man everyone recognized immediately. "My name is Vincent Montenegro," the recorded voice echoed through the hall. "On the 15th of this month, I was refused admission to Santa Clara Hospital after suffering a serious accident. Without the courage of Dr. Diana Santos, who risked her career to save me, I would be dead." Whitman tried to run for the exits, but found federal agents blocking all the doors. Deputy Harrison, a black man who had investigated discrimination cases throughout his career, approached with barely concealed satisfaction. "Thomas Whitman, you are under arrest for fraud, institutional discrimination, and embezzlement of public funds." As the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Whitman saw Diana entering the hall. She was wearing an elegant navy blue suit, accompanied by Montenegro and a team of lawyers. "You," Whitman spat the words, "you planned this whole thing." Diana approached calmly. "No, Director Whitman, you planned this whole thing. I just documented it." Montenegro stepped forward. "You know what's ironic? My company just acquired Santa Clara Hospital. Our first order of business will be to implement a universal healthcare program inspired by Dr. Santos' work. Patricia, who had been watching from the crowd, tried to slip away but was intercepted by Johnson, the security guard. "You also have an invitation from the FBI," he said with a smile. The guests began receiving notifications on their cell phones. The New York Times had just published an explosive article, "The Santa Clara Scandal: How an Elite Hospital Practiced Medical Apartheid in the 21st Century." "My reputation," Whitman shouted as he was dragged away. "My career, everything I've built." "No," Diana replied, her voice firm, echoing through the hall. "Everything you stole from patients who needed care, from professionals who deserved respect, from a community that trusted you." The mayor, Whitman's cousin, tried to slip away discreetly when he was surrounded by reporters. "Mr. Mayor, is it true that your campaign received $2.3 million in donations from Santa Clara Hospital, coinciding with the increase in patient refusals?" In his luxury suite, Montenegro watched the news with a smile. "Dear Santos," he said into the phone, "you just saved much more than my life. You saved the integrity of an entire profession." The live broadcast of Whitman's arrest reached 5 million views in an hour. Comments flooded social media with stories of people who had been turned away by Santa Clara. #Justice for Diana became a worldwide trending topic. But the most powerful moment came when Diana took the stage in the ballroom. The spotlights originally prepared to glorify Whitman now illuminated the true heroine of the night. "For 10 years," she began, her voice strong and clear, "I watched people die because they didn't have the right credit card. I saw talented colleagues fired for being the wrong color. I was publicly humiliated for doing my job, saving lives." The crowd was mesmerized. Cameras from every network broadcast live. But tonight is not about revenge. It's about justice. It's about ensuring that never again will a hospital put profit over human lives. That never again will a healthcare professional be punished for having compassion. Dr. Martinez, who had remained silent during years of abuse, stepped up to the microphone. "I witnessed it all, and I am ashamed that I remained silent for so long. Dr. Santos, you are the doctor we should all strive to be." As Whitman was placed in the police car, he had one last look at the hall. Diana was surrounded by colleagues, patients, and community members, all applauding on their feet. The empire he had built on discrimination and greed was crumbling spectacularly, broadcast to the entire world. What no one in that glamorous crowd could have predicted was that this historic moment would not just represent the fall of a corrupt man and a broken system. The shock waves from that revelation would spread across the country, forcing a complete overhaul of discriminatory practices in elite hospitals and inspiring a new generation of healthcare professionals to put compassion above profit, proving that sometimes a single act of courage can rewrite the future for millions. 6 months later, the old Santa Clara Hospital building underwent a transformation as radical as the lives of those who frequented it. Where once there was a golden plaque with an elitist coat of arms, now a modern sign shone, "Diana Santos Health Center Universal Care." Diana walked through the completely renovated corridors, stopping to chat with patients who could never afford treatment at other hospitals. Her new position as medical director came with a 7-figure salary, but the real pay was in the grateful eyes of the people who were finally receiving dignified care. Dr. Santos, Johnson approached, now head of security with triple his previous salary. "The waiting list for appointments is already over 1,000 people. It seems that news of our free care program has spread quickly. Diana smiled. Great. That's exactly what we want. At the front desk, where Patricia once rejected patients with cruel glee, now worked Maria Gonzalez, a bilingual nurse who had been fired from Santa Clara for not fitting in. She treated every person with the same respect, regardless of their appearance or bank account. Dr. Martinez, promoted to chief of the emergency department, approached with a tablet. Diana, we just received another anonymous donation. 5 million this time. The anonymous donors were actually former sponsors of Santa Clara Hospital, desperate to clean up their images after the scandal. Montenegro had ensured that every penny was traceable and public. Meanwhile, in a federal cell 300 km away, Thomas Whitman was discovering the true meaning of humiliation. Sentenced to 15 years for fraud, discrimination, and embezzlement, he was now cleaning toilets in prison. Ironically, the only job available to someone with no connections in the prison system. Whitman shouted a guard. Visitors for you, hopeful for any contact with the outside world. Whitman rushed to the visiting room. His heart sank when he saw who was there. Johnson, his former security guard, impeccably dressed. I came to give you this in person, Johnson said, sliding an envelope across the table. It's the invitation to the hospital renaming ceremony. Dr. Santos insisted. You know, inside was a photo of the new hospital and a New York Times article. Former discriminated nurse transforms elite hospital into national model of universal healthcare. Whitman's ex-wife had filed for divorce in the first week after his arrest. His children had legally changed their last name. His cousin, the mayor, had resigned after the corruption scandal. All of his influential friends had vanished into thin air. You know what's most ironic? Johnson continued, Dr. Santos saved the life of the man who would change everything. If you had treated her with respect, you'd still be in your luxurious office. At the opening ceremony for the Diana Santos Center, Montenegro took the stage. A year ago, this woman saved my life without knowing who I was, without caring about my status or bank account. Today, thanks to her, thousands of lives will be saved every year. The auditorium erupted in applause. Diana, wearing an elegant doctor's uniform designed especially for her, took the stage under spotlights that had once illuminated Whitman's arrogance. When I was fired, she began, her voice echoing through the crowded hall. I thought it was the end. But I discovered that sometimes the universe needs to take us out of the wrong place to put us exactly where we should be. In the front row, her mother cried with pride. At her side, representatives from hospitals across the country took notes. The Diana Santos model was already being studied for national implementation. The real revolution in healthcare, Diana continued, doesn't happen in executive boardrooms. It happens when we decide that every life has equal value regardless of the bank balance. 6 cameras from different networks broadcast live. #Modelo Diana Santos was trending worldwide. Universities vied for Diana to give lectures. Her biography was already being written by a best-selling author. Patricia, the former receptionist, now worked as a cashier at a suburban pharmacy. Every time she saw Diana on TV, she changed the channel. Her cruel posts had been printed and went viral as an example of how not to treat human beings. The most powerful moment came when Diana announced the full scholarship program for Black and Latino medical students. No one will ever be prevented from saving lives because of the color of their skin or the zip code where they were born. Montenegro approached the microphone, and I am pleased to announce that Montenegro Holdings is donating $100 million to expand this model to 5 more cities. As the flashes went off and the audience gave a standing ovation, Diana had a moment of clarity. A year ago, she lost everything for doing the right thing. Today, she was leading a healthcare revolution that would save countless lives. The lesson was crystal clear. The best revenge against injustice is not to destroy those who hurt you. It is to build something so great that their evil becomes irrelevant. Diana didn't need to take Whitman down. She built an empire of compassion that made everything he stood for obsolete. And so, while Thomas Whitman rotted in his cell, counting the days of a sentence that seemed endless, Diana Santos became an international symbol of how true greatness is born from compassion and how sometimes being fired for doing the right thing is just the universe preparing you for something infinitely greater. If this story of overcoming adversity and poetic justice touched your heart, be sure to subscribe to the channel to follow more inspiring stories that prove that integrity in the end always wins, and sometimes in spectacular fashion.